My mom stopped watching the news right around 2016. Can you imagine why? And so when I was talking to her last night, I had to kind of bring her up to speed on a lot of things. And this was, just for the record, Wednesday of this week. So I started out with a joke about Tylenol and pregnancy, at which point she said, "Did someone say something about Tylenol and pregnancy?" So I told her about the press conference that happened on Monday. I told her that, yes, they were saying Tylenol causes autism, even though the main study on which they're basing this is from a person, or the senior author of that study is a person who was paid $150,000 in a lawsuit against Tylenol to testify against Tylenol, which is a conflict of interest. And I filled her in on RFK Jr.'s history of faux concerns related to conflicts of interest and how he used those faux concerns to fire everyone on ASIP. I also went on to inform her of the president's comments about the hepatitis B vaccine and his belief that it should not be given to anyone until they're 12, even though the whole reason we give it to newborns is to prevent transmission to newborns, which can come from the pregnant person or from other people who they are exposed to. And when people contract hepatitis B at such a young age, there's a very high rate of chronic infection, which is associated with liver cancer and end-stage liver disease. I also let her know that the president had said, based on his feelings, that we should separate the MMR vaccine into 3 separate shots, even though he couldn't name what the third one was. He could remember measles and mumps, but not rubella. It makes no sense to want to inject newborns 3 times instead of once. And when you do that, there are more chances that they will not get all the shots that they need to be protected. I then felt I needed to tell her about what happened at the UN talk that Trump gave on Tuesday, where he went on a rant about a contract that his company had bid for to, I think, remodel the UN years ago, and talking about how they could have had marble, but instead they got terrazzo, and they could have had mahogany, but instead they got, I don't know what. But this is in the middle of a speech to the United Nations. He's holding some grudge about some contract he didn't get years ago. And of course, in the midst of talking about how open borders are so terrible, he told the leaders of the world their countries are going to hell. He also spent a fair amount of time talking about how the escalator had broken on his way up and how the teleprompter wasn't working. Both of these apparently were caused by members of his team, not by anyone at the UN, even though this led to Jesse Waters saying that we should bomb the UN. I also filled her in on the fact that out of the 1,800 or so people who had been sent to Alligator Alcatraz, about 1,200 of them are missing. Their families have no idea where they are, or if they're safe, or quite frankly, if they're alive. I also updated her on the 3 ICE detainees who were shot, 2 of whom were killed yesterday, and that, of course, our vice president and others are trying already to frame this as a leftist and political violence from the left being the major issue of our times, even though the vast majority of political violence is committed by people on the right. That was just from Monday through Wednesday, and none of this is normal.